All right, MMA Maniacs, it's time once again for your weekly MMA podcast. It is called Split Decision, brought to you from the Ruloff Family Inc. studios. Bueller and Dodge on the mics, ready to give you some MMA news, break down the fights we have going on this weekend, also go over The Ultimate Fighter as well. Make sure you catch us on Spreaker, Stitcher, and SoundCloud. You can also get us on iTunes. Subscribe, you won't miss anything. But we really want you to go to our official website, which is splitdecisionmma.com. Give us some love there. Give us a like on Facebook at Split Decision MMA Podcast, and on Twitter and Instagram, SD_MMA. Also, if you are a fighter looking for a sponsor, we came in contact with somebody who's really cool there to help you out. They help fighters get sponsors. You can go check out their website, which is MMAsomnia.com. I've been in this boat before trying to get sponsors for fighters. It's a pain in the ass, so if you have somebody to do it for you, it's pretty awesome. And also, if you're looking for some fight apparel, really cool website online that you should check out as well, AmericanaMMA.org for all your fight apparel needs. Again, AmericanaMMA.org. Now that we're done with that, let's go ahead and jump into the news. Kicking it off with Cyborg.
Yeah, not going to be able to make her bantamweight debut. This is supposed to be going down December 5th in Invicta. She was supposed to be fighting at 135 at Invicta 10. However, she has had an injury to her ankle, and she will no longer be able to make the weight and fight actually on that date.
You really believe it's an ankle problem?
No, not at all. I think it's just I can't make the weight problem.
You think it's a weight?
I really do.
She says it's actual ligament damage. They're saying that she has the anterior tibulate ligament has been ruptured.
If that's the case, then that totally sucks. But I mean, it was like the whole hype was like her not being able to make this weight class, and her saying she would. Finally, she was like, "No, I'm going to do it. I'm going to make this weight class." And then, of course, here we are coming up on the eve of the fight, and oh no, I hurt my ankle. I mean, it seems there's so many excuses in MMA. This seems like a pretty easy one. Was this before or after her AMA on Reddit?
This was before. So then they asked her about it. She said she's recovering from her ankle injury, working with Ivan Karamesino on physical therapy. And she said just as it got closer to the fight date, the decision had to be made. I was hoping to rehab it and be ready for my fight as soon as possible.
Well, hopefully she has a speedy recovery, because obviously we want to see her make this weight so we can see the fights that we want to see with her.
Right. Ronda, on the other hand, came out and said she thinks it's all BS, just because she's like, she's not going to have surgery, so obviously it's not that bad of an injury.
They would know more than we would. I mean,
yeah,
but different fighters fight through different things too.
It's true. It's very true. So yeah, then she did do an AMA.
My threshold for pain is about a 1, I think.
You're the when they show you the faces. Yeah. You're just the slightly grumpy face.
The slightly grumpy face. But I always point at the 10.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You are always the slightly grumpy face, but you're the face with the crosses on it.
You just look like an old lady in church. She's just
the eyes are X'd, my eyes are X'd out, and there's like lightning bolts coming out of my head. I'm like, that's how much pain I'm in. But I'm really like the slightly grumpy old lady in the church. That's fine. I just roll my ankle. I'm like, I'm out for a month. I can't do anything.
Believe it or not, in football, there's a lot of guys that are like that. Oh, they roll their ankle. It's broke. It's broke. No, it's not broken.
It's possibly broken. Crow Cop and Josh Barnett will both be performing at Inuki Bambeyi 2014, the New Year's Eve Japan show. However, neither of them will be fighting each other, or technically in the same sport. If you know anything about the Inoki Bumbaye, they put on a mixture of kickboxing, MMA, pro wrestling. They do a big combo event every year at New Year's.
Is there pro wrestling over there? Is it like our pro wrestling here, or is it more?
There's two different types.
Is it less scripted?
They have two different types. They have the very scripted kind that's very much like it is here, and then they have actual shoot wrestling, which is more legit.
And what is this one going to be, do you think?
Well, Crow Cop's going to be fighting for
kickboxing, I'm assuming.
No, he's going to be fighting he's going to be defending his Inoki Genome Federation title.
Oh, okay.
Which is a legitimate shoot wrestling match.
Oh, wow. All right.
He's going to be in a legitimate shoot wrestling match. And Josh Barnett will be in a pro wrestling match.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is kind of strange that Josh Barnett has, I'm sure obviously he signed it with his contract with the UFC that he's able to go over there and fight in another sport.
Well, maybe because it's a pro wrestling match,
right.
And it's not like, it's scripted.
Right. If it was the shoot wrestling, they probably wouldn't allow him to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if you want to check that out, it's going to be New Year's Eve, live from Japan.
When is New Year's Eve live from Japan, our time?
I think technically the day before.
Okay.
Yeah, it's according to Dodge, it's anytime between December 28th and January 5th is New Year's, apparently.
But in Japan, it's completely different. So you got to go possibly November 5th through, I think it's June 3rd.
Well, they do the Chinese New Year in January, though?
Right, something around there. Yeah. Another fight that is rumored to be happening on New Year's Eve in Japan. This is coming from Phil Baroni. he tweeted, if this email is legit, fuck yeah, I'll fight Vanderlei Silva in Japan New Year's Eve.
So Phil Baroni got trolled like a motherfucker. Is that what you're telling me right now?
It's quite possible.
Someone hella trolled Phil Baroni.
The New York badass doesn't quite understand internet trolling.
Apparently not. No, I got it on Instagram. It says from the Dana White. the_Dana_White.
One.
That's legit, right?
It's got to be legit. So, and
It's a
of course,
picture of a contract drawn out in crayon.
that worked for a couple fighters. And we saw this happen.
Yeah,
true.
I think 3 so far, right?
Yeah. So the thing with it is that obviously Vanderlei Silva cannot fight in the United States. They won't let him fight in the United States. Nevada State Athletic Commission's not going to allow him to fight. New Jersey State Athletic Commission's going to keep that going. I mean, there's most of the athletic commissions. I don't think there.
I get it.
He's technically still under contract with the UFC. So I don't know, but it's Japan. Anything can happen, I guess.
Yeah, but he can still get sued by the UFC.
True.
Like if he gets sued by the UFC,
He's not going to get his money.
he's not going to be able to fight in any UFC cards until he makes good on it, and he also won't be able to he'll be held accountable as long as he's in the United States. So he's going to be stuck in Brazil. I don't see this happening unless the UFC just wants to cut him.
It's true. And then he offered to fight Sonnen in a fight, he said, in Brazil. He's asking him basically to fight him at an XFC Brazil event. Sonnen said, no, that's all right, but if you want to fight, I'll fight you in Metamoris. Like if you want to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournament. However, Vanderlei didn't say anything.
Well, of course not, because he got his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt from a flea market for attempting a submission one time in a Pride tournament.
Right. And Sonnen knows that he's okay in Metamoris because he's already done it once and nothing happened.
He was allowed to do it.
Yeah.
I think they should have it like an exhibition MMA match where they're both allowed to juice just as much as they want.
That's what
That's Japan.
Yeah.
What do you mean an exhibition? That's Japan. You can do it there as long as you're not doing anything that's.
You can do it.
You can't do pot. You can't do coke. You can only do performance-enhancing drugs. You're not allowed to do any recreational drugs in Japan. Performance-enhancing, totally okay. This is like in the contract from Pride.
Yeah.
Nunu took a picture of his contract, and it specifically stated, no performance-enhancing drugs will be tested. You will be tested, or you will be tested for recreational drugs.
Yeah, because they only have the cheap test strip.
Yeah. It's the one you get down to Walgreens.
Anything that doesn't show up on the test strip.
Kids doing drugs when you want to take them.
You're good.
The spa strip that you pee on.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, but your total alkalinity, it could be crazy.
Yeah.
You need a little chlorine.
Gotta add 1 or 2.
Is that considered recreational?
Got to throw the shock tablet in, and then it's at least 3 extra tablets per week until it clears up.
Would the shock be recreational or performance enhancing then? That's what I'm curious about.
Are you fighting right after the shock or a couple weeks later? I mean,
maybe we want to go home and eat a shock tablet now.
Try it.
And Joey's dead. Oh, well.
And then we have Anderson Silva. Anderson Silva was hospitalized overnight this last Monday due to severe back injury following a workout. However, they are saying this will not affect the January 31st UFC 183 bout with Nick Diaz.
Did they call it lumbago in this too? Is that...
Yes.
What is that?
That's severe back pain.
That's the lumbar. The lumbar area of your back.
The official medical term is lumbargo.
It's when the lumbargo area of your back puts an embargo on feeling good. That's all it is.
It affects 40% of the population. This is a serious matter.
This is not going to affect the Diaz fight. It's not going to affect the Diaz fight, but he fell to the ground in pain and could not feel his legs. But he's fine.
But he's good.
It's because he's missing one of them anyway, isn't
he?
Hey,
he's normal. He's normal.
One of his feet hands is broken.
Feet hands.
Or his arm foot.
His arm foot, yeah. Remember we talked about Ryan Ford, who lost his submission to Jake Shields. He had gone into the fight with a broken arm.
To get medical for free.
He is now being suspended for 6 months for non-disclosure of his injury.
When it really should say for taking a dive.
He didn't take a dive. He still tried to fight.
With a broken arm.
He still tried to fight.
Did he get his arm fixed?
Yeah, probably.
Then fucking win-win. Did he get his show money and did he get his arm fixed? Fuck it. That's all he was fighting for anyway, apparently.
Right.
He says what's fair or not fair doesn't really matter. He's all as funny as guys going to fights always injured. They've come in after their fights and said, I got broken hands, I got ribs, I got my nose, knees, whatever. Do they get suspended? Maybe not broken arm, but that's the difference between me and them, I guess.
Why does everybody got to talk about Johnny Hendricks?
Well, if Ford had a bigger name, then maybe they wouldn't care as much. And that's not a shot at him. It's just that...
I think it was just because of the way he came out.
Was it his debut UFC fight, though?
You mean World Series of Fighting fight?
World Series of Fighting fight?
No. It was his second.
It was his second? Oh, okay. No, I don't know that. I'm just trying to make excuses for the poor guy. Yeah.
So we recently talked about how Ronda Rousey and the Cat Zingano match was moved from the New Year's card over to later in, what do we say? It's like April or something like that. It's like later, right? UFC 184 going down to Los Angeles, February?
I think it's end of February, maybe March.
End of February, that's right. End of February, early March. Because I was trying to figure out if it was going to be the Super Bowl card, but apparently Super Bowl's on like the 2nd.
Right.
And she is saying, or the reason this is coming out with is because Cat Zingano is actually dealing with a back issue. She would not be ready in January. Need a little more time to recover, so that's why it's actually getting moved. For a while, we were kind of left in the dark.
So if women have back problems, we move it. Guys lose their feeling in their legs, we're going to keep the date.
It's because he's got plenty of time to recover.
Lower body, embargo the legs. Sanctions on those legs.
Chris Weidman's going to be fighting Vitor Belfort February 28th on that same card we were just talking about. And in the pre-fight press conference where we got to see Luke Rockhold and Michael Bisping kind of go at it, Weidman was also there. They all were on a united front against Mr. Belfort over his recent PED issues. It was actually pretty funny to sit through. It started off with Michael Bisping saying, they had a question come up from a fan, and the fan asked, do you think that how do each of them feel that Belfort's getting a title shot before each of them when he was the one who was on PEDs, even though he beat both of them? And
how they react to that?
Bisping says, well, that's quite a shit-stirring question. You're going to open many cans of worms, but listen, Vitor was juiced to the gills for many years, and now he's not. Now Chris is going to win that fight, first and foremost, and he's in an advantage because Belfort's no longer juiced to the gills. He's like, his physical appearance is altered. It's quite visible. Is he going to be the same person? That's the question everyone's asking. Only he knows, and we shall see. Rockhold got his turn. He said, Vitor's a joke to me. We'll see when it comes out. I'm very interested to see what happens in his drug test he took the other day. We'll see if the fight even takes place. And then Chris Weidman even dug a little further and said, yeah, I'm kind of worried about that. I mean, you want him to get drug tested until he actually gets drug tested. I'm wondering if we're actually going to be able to get to have that fight.
As long as we're there for all this?
No.
Okay.
It was just the three of them, which was kind of funny.
Right. And I looked into the numbers.
Yeah.
And apparently, naturally, there are people who claim that they can get up to 40-1
wow.
naturally. And it's not by just raising the testosterone level. It's also by lowering the estrogen level, which changes the ratio. And that they said that Ream's 14-1 is easily attainable by diet. And that the UFC, well, actually, it's a lot of vegetables. There's a lot of broccoli, cauliflower. They can lower estrogen levels. But anyway,
I'm pretty sure the 14-1 is what Sean Shirt got booted for.
Yeah, but he's also this tall.
Right.
But if you get 40-1,
you can't get 14-1 when you're like 3'8", dude. Like, that's not fair. Ream's like 6'11". Like, I get it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and
you fucking sizist.
And even going by American Medical Journal, they readily admit that if you're going to start testing for PEDs, you need to test for the PED. You can use the elevated ratio as a reason to test, but it is no way or form to use it to criticize somebody.
That's not an indicator of definite PEDs.
Right.
Okay. Well, maybe the UFC needs to read the American Medical Journal.
I think they're working on changing their policy on testing. That's been the big thing for a long time that they've been trying to work towards. That's why they've also been saying we want independent testing. We don't want to be responsible for it. We don't want to have to. We want somebody else to be taking care of this.
Can we just start up our own testing company then?
Yeah.
For the UFC?
It's expensive. That's the other thing too.
We got spa strips right here, man.
No.
I mean,
okay, that's easy. It's a lot cheaper to test.
Joey likes for
handling
things with pee.
Yeah.
I was going to say we store the urine here at Dennis's house.
It's a lot easier and cheaper.
Oh wait, wrong one.
It's a lot easier and cheaper to test the ratio than it is to test and find the PEDs. So that's why they do that.
No, gotcha.
There we go. Fallon Fox back in the news. She is talking about Joe Rogan.
I don't care what she says.
She says she wants an apology for Joe Rogan from him, saying that he is continuing to spread incorrect information about transgendered athletes.
That's the short-term name for transgender is a tranny.
That's part of a car.
Hey, my grandmother is a granny. Right? I don't mean no disrespect to her, but
is she transgendered?
My daddy's a daddy, my mom's a mommy. She's a tranny.
In his recent podcast, he said the big difference is the same size hips and, let's see. The big difference is the mechanical advantage of the male frame. You don't find a female with super wide shoulders, narrow waist, and same size hips and shaped hips as a man. When you have that kind of body, you can generate more force. She is saying that she's never heard this claim being backed by the medical field, anybody in the medical field, that it's just his opinion, and that because he has such a wide audience that more and more people are listening to him and they'll take his word over hers.
If Fallon Fox died today, right, and civilization crumbled, and then 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 years from now, Fallon Fox's body was dug up, and they tried to assign the gender to the skeleton,
It'd be a dude.
That's my question. I'm
All
not
right,
being an asshole with this question.
I got you.
But when it comes down to what Joe is talking about, which is bone and muscle structure, which is what's my original argument to begin with, even with all the chemicals and hormones and things like that, I'm not a fucking doctor, but I still have to assume that Joe's kind of knows what he's talking about here. The bone structure and the muscle structure are still going to have a difference over natural female bone and muscle structure. And I think that's what Joe's saying. And I think that like, my example, even though it's extreme, is like they try, when they find the remains of people, from however many years ago, they try to assign gender to it. And there are some androgynous, skeletons, but usually those are children. So with an adult, I can't think of anything off the top of my head where they had trouble assigning gender to it.
Right.
So if that's the case, then wouldn't Joe technically be kind of right in his argument here?
I would agree with that, yeah. Based on that logic, I totally agree.
And if my grandfather got transgender surgery, I would call him a granny too.
Well, that's what happens when you switch it up in the middle, right? And what does your transmission do?
Yeah.
Switches gears?
That's right.
That's right.
Switches gears.
You switch gears in the middle of your life?
That's right.
You're a transmission.
Yeah. That's why we got 3 different types of tranny shops in town.
God. So this will be the one that gets us shut down.
Possibly, yeah. Anthony Johnson's civil case has been dismissed. He is cleared to resume his UFC career. This was put on Twitter by Dana White and the UFC. He was able to go a little bit further into detail. Dana White says the person who filed the civil temporary protection order against the UFC contender Anthony Johnson last September voluntarily dismissed their complaint last week in a Florida circuit court. Before granting a dismissal of the case, the presiding judge independently questioned the alleged party regarding their voluntary intentions, and therefore, after the judge dismissed the entire matter, the dismissal of the case, along with independent investigation, was commissioned by the UFC, brings closure to the matter for Anthony Johnson, allows him to return to competition in possibly the next year.
Lucky for him.
Yep. And I'm hoping everybody learns to keep your hands to yourself.
It's like kindergarten.
Yep.
Special announcement.
Or Georgia Satellite, whatever.
Special announcement coming from the UFC going down November 17th. Set your calendars. Make sure you're online. They will be doing something they've never done before. They're holding a special press conference featuring all of their top stars. Jon Jones, Ronda Rousey, Chris Weidman, Anderson Silva, Conor McGregor, Lyoto Machida, Nick Diaz, and more will be on this press event. They decided that they're going to reveal the entire 2015 calendar with an event called The Time Is Now. So this will be 2 p.m. Monday from the Smith Center of Performing Arts. Monday, that's Pacific time. You can see that UFC.com. They're going to be, again, unveiling its entire 2015 calendar. I don't quite understand, like we talked about this right before the show, how this is all going to work.
Well,
other than announcing dates and times, I don't know what unveiling the entire calendar means as far as...
They can have speculated matches, for the first part of the year. But once, like you said, Dennis, before we started this, once you get past April, really, what can you do?
Well, I mean, let's just go back to December, January, earlier. Who's Conor McGregor?
Yeah.
And now he's one of the stars that we're going to get to see.
Look at the Jon Jones DC fight that's happened in January that was supposed to happen, August?
Yeah.
Right.
So I want Vegas odds on how many of these fight cards are going to change. Like, is it 20-1 that only one card is going to change?
It's definitely going to be interesting. Like I said, from the first things that I was reading, they were supposed to be announcing like who's going to be fighting on what, like ahead of time, at least like headliners. I don't see how that's possible. Again, I think your approach where they're saying we're going to have the middleweight card going to be defended.
Right. Show us a bracket.
The featherweight card is going to be defended in September. You know what I mean? We don't know who yet. We don't know what the rest of the card looks like, but this is about what we're looking for.
And if that's the case, if it's going to be, so in March we're going to have...
they do this most of the time anyway.
Yeah, we're going to have a middleweight time. Well, then it's not really that exciting. Who gives a shit?
I think it's just a press... The press conference is exciting, having all these people on stage, or at least on a conference call, or however this is going to work. I mean, obviously it's at the Performing Arts Center, so we get to see that. So yeah, maybe they're all on stage and they'll do... That's interesting, I guess.
But that's
really?
about it, though.
But is it
It's
something
just-
to tune into that I have to like pay attention to?
I think that's why he's parading all these people in front of the cameras, though, because it's a dog and pony show right here.
I mean, it's not as exciting, I guess, as the Fox. Was it as exciting, you think, as like the Fox announcement? Remember they made a big press. We're gonna make a big press conference. Stay tuned.
It's probably like right along the same, but they want to show all the talent they have on stage at one point.
I guess that makes sense. Yeah,
2015, you're going to see all these guys
fighting,
bar injury.
Tentatively.
So how do you?
They all walk out with asterisk shirts on.
Do you want the Vegas odds on whoever the and more and these people are will not A, be fighting next year or be relevant at the end of the year?
They're just not secured yet.
I mean, they got big names. I'm saying, John Jones could hold the title another year. I'm not saying he can't. However,
they're just not secured yet. They have these guys lined up already.
Lyoto Machida, do you see him making another title run and being like top 15 but in the next year, top 10, top 5?
By the end
But
of
still,
next year, probably not.
How do you say Conor McGregor's the star we want to see when he's fighting Siver?
He's getting a money check, man.
No, I know, but
He's got 6-figure check coming.
I understand.
You wouldn't know what that seems like.
I know, and I thank him every day. I thank you for coming to the UFC.
They got me down here. They got me in the Fertitta suite. I'm not even fighting on this fucking card.
I love that, dude. I was dying.
I'm the fucking star here.
He doesn't even realize that they didn't get him a room. They just got him an extra bed and let him stay in his suite.
Or it was their suite and they're not staying there.
Yeah,
Can you guys bring up the rollaway?
exactly.
It'd be like, hey, I'm not going to make it to the Brazil
They
card.
brought me a
Just give
special
us
bed.
the
They brought me a special bed. Do you ever get a special bed?
Your bed folds out of the wall. Does your
Yeah.
bed fold out of the wall?
That's the ironing board. No, it's not. It's a Conor McGregor bed.
It's got sheets. That's just the cover of the ironing board. It's not a custom fitted sheet.
But it's a fitted sheet. It's got elastic in it and everything.
It's all skinny like me.
So we have 2 fights going on this weekend. Ultimate Fight Night 55 and Ultimate Fight Night 56.
Bang, bang.
Bang, bang. 56 is going to be from Brazil live on Fox Sports 1. 55 is going to be live from Australia on the Fight Pass.
Like now.
I like the formula. Another country and a fight in America.
Yeah.
Another country and a fight in America.
Well, this is 2 fights not in America.
But one of them gets to be seen in America.
One gets seen
I see.
in
On
America.
American television.
American television.
Yeah, this fight's happening in the future.
It never gets old, dude. I love that.
So we'll talk about Ultimate Fight Night 55 since technically it's in the future and it's numbered first. So we got to talk about that one first.
That actually makes more sense. This is the Marty McFly card.
Run! It's the Libyans.
everything on
I used
Fight
to run
Pass.
from every VW bus that I saw for like a year after
You
that
thought the
movie.
safari top was going to open up and
I
the
did.
dude was going to shoot out a freaking like RPG missile?
Running down the street, the Libyans! Fucking hippies are driving by like, what the fuck are these kids doing, man? A bunch of people stoned with dreadlocks in the fucking VW buses.
So again, everything is going to be on Fight Pass. We have the preliminary card. We have the Chinese Justin Timberlake name I can't pronounce. And against going up against Marcus Brimage. Tell me it doesn't look like Justin Timberlake.
At a
Like
quick glance.
like they just like shook his name up in like a boggle thing, and then that's the letters
Yeah,
that came
Justin
back out.
Timberlake in a tuxedo.
It's a word jumble.
Yeah,
word
total little jumble up against Marcus Brimage. I'll be taking Brimage in that fight.
I don't know if Justin Timberlake wears a suit and tie. It's like fighting a mirror.
Luke Zacharich going up against Dan Kelly. Be taking Luke.
Yeah,
Richie,
but Kelly's undefeated.
and he also hasn't fought in the UFC.
That's why he's undefeated.
Richie Vakulik going up against Louis Samolka.
I like the smoke.
I like Smolka.
I love it, this smoker.
Vic Grujic going up against Chris Clements. I think I'll be taking Clements in that fight. Sam Elvey going up against Dylan Andrews. Again, I'll be taking Dylan in that fight.
Not gonna get any argument from me on any of these picks.
On any of these picks, yeah. Again, the prelims are it's kind of hard. Some of these guys you've been able to see, some of them you haven't. Plus, being all on Fight Pass, we've got a lot to cover today. So Anthony Peroche going up against Carlos Augusto Filo, and then
you know it's an Australian card and Peroche is fighting.
right,
Right.
Hippo's got a fight on that card.
Exactly.
Jake Matthews going up against Wagner Rocha, and then we
You got Jake Matthews over Wagner Rocha?
Yep.
All right.
Want to bet on that one?
No, I don't want to bet on it.
All right. So then we got our first fight on the main card. Sol Pelele going up against Walt Harris.
I know how much you love Sol Pelele.
Sol Pelele is the Hulk, man. First of all, these are 2 huge guys. This is what I predict right now. Ready? There's going to be some hands on some knees. There's going to be and/or the hips at one point, and there's going to be a lot of gasping for air from both fighters.
Like fish out of water, just going.
They need the Bane mask. I mean, just help them breathe.
Perfect.
Apparently, though, Soa's been training with Mike Swick, and they've been following Cain Velasquez's training methodology for cardio that he developed while he was at AKA. So as long as Soa Palele does not get injured like Cain Velasquez is often, he will apparently have the better cardio. And
I like Mike Swick's boxing, so
yeah, and that's the thing. Soa Palele has heavy hands. His boxing's not as crisp. He's really known for his wrestling. I think he can outlast and have a couple more breaths in him more than Walt Harris. Walt Harris does have heavy hands. He is athletic for a big man. Does seem to move pretty well. However, I just think Palele's going to take this fight.
I agree with you.
So you're saying the winner is the guy who finds the more available oxygen?
Yes.
They're going to have tanks in the corner. It'll be the first ever fight with scuba gear on.
Clint Hester going up against Robert Whittaker. Forrest's little brother. Yeah, of course. This is Robert Whittaker's first fight at 185. He is moving up from 170. I don't know if that's necessarily a good idea. He's moving from a smaller weight class to a bigger weight class.
Going up against a big 185.
Yeah, and Clint's huge at 185. Yeah. He's got really good hands. He has a really good boxing background. He's been doing really good things with his wrestling. He's mixing it up pretty well. He's definitely going to be taking Whittaker's chin, who says he wants a slugfest, and I don't think that's a good idea for him, especially going up with somebody who has a boxing background, who started out in boxing.
Especially like you have right here that he froze up in his last fight. You're going to freeze up on your feet against somebody who's going to outbox
and he got knocked
you.
out. His head doesn't move too much. It stays in the same line. Yeah, he has some head movement, but it stays on the line. It's not going to be good for him.
Yeah, if you can't swivel, you don't want to. You don't want to rock 'em sock 'em. No.
So I'll definitely be taking Clint Hester in this fight. Alaquinta going up against Ross Pearson. Ross Pearson recently named by Dan Hardy, who said he is the only Brit he believes that is going to be able to get a UFC title.
Really?
And that's Dan Hardy, who is a Brit fighter. He says he believes that Ross Pearson is the only chance they have left to get a British fighter to get a belt.
Who did Ross just fight?
He did just fight recently.
He did just fight recently, yeah. He did win that fight as well. We know he has really good hands. We know he has pretty decent boxing. Really good in the pocket. His wrestling has come a long way. He's got 79% takedown defense.
Yeah, it's good.
Which is pretty big, especially against Alaquinta, who has good wrestling, and he should be using his wrestling. For some reason, he doesn't like to. He says he wants to try to stand, and I think he'll most likely be trying to use his kickboxing. Ross Pearson said he doesn't think that Alaquinta's kickboxing is that good, and he will definitely be able to find his chin. So I think maybe Alaquinta will be trying to show it off a little bit to prove that he does have good stand-up and good kickboxing. I think he should use the ground game, otherwise he's not going to be winning this fight. I'll be taking Ross Pearson.
I think Ross Pearson's got this fight too, but I don't think it's going to be quite as easy as you made it sound. I think it's a tough fight for Ross Pearson. Alaquinta is he's a legit fighter.
Definitely a legit fighter. He just beat Gray Maynard. That's who he fought. That was Ross Pearson.
Yep. Back in August, so it wasn't that long ago.
TKO, yeah.
Like I said, I don't know. I know, Alaquinta's been training the Sarah Longo team, who actually has been doing really well, obviously, with Chris Weidman, some of their other fighters. He doesn't seem to follow the game plan as well as I think he should. And I think he could get in trouble if he tries to stand with Ross Pearson.
I'm with you on Pearson on this one.
All right. Luke Rockhold going up against Michael Bisping. This is supposedly for a number one contendership spot. Possibly. Maybe. We'll see.
Whose total combined knockouts equal many and a lot.
Many and a lot.
We'll have to see what happens.
If it's not
it depends. Are they going to be on stage at this event coming up? Maybe they will get a deadweight shot if they're on stage.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying is like if they don't make it a number one contender fight, then Bisping actually has a chance.
Right.
But if this is a fight to be a number one contender, just count Bisping out right now.
Bisping's out.
He's gonna fuck it up somehow.
I mean, we know Bisping's thing. He is a high energy point style kickboxer.
Right.
I mean, he doesn't have a lot of damage. Doesn't put it. I mean, yes, he did take out Kung Lee recently, mostly due to the cut and the fact that Kung Lee may or may not have been on HGH. But in my opinion, he didn't really do that much. I mean, yeah, the damage was there, but he didn't knock him out. He wasn't going anywhere.
Right.
We know his clinch is good. He's always had a decent clinch game, decent takedown defense. I don't think his clinch game is as good as Luke Rockhold's, though. Luke Rockhold, I think, is a pretty all-around good fighter. Strikeforce champion for a reason. He's got good boxing and kickboxing. He's got really good submissions, really good takedowns, uses his distance and transitions well. And he's a good counter-wrestler. If guys try to drag him down, he turns it into a scramble. He's able to hit the guys on the way out. He's won his last, was that 2 with a TKO? I want to say.
Well,
I'm definitely taking Luke Rockhold in this fight.
Luke Rockhold's a good pick in this one, but I mean, also being the Strikeforce champion is also like being the gatekeeper in the UFC.
Right.
Very similar, and Rockhold's got a lot of skills. Bisping, this isn't going to go to the ground unless Rockhold really, really wants it to. Bisping's got great takedown defense. Bisping likes to stand and trade. He likes to point fight. He likes to clinch.
Yeah.
He's going to be throwing a lot of knees, and I think Rockhold's going to have to try to look for a submission because he's going to want to get out of that clinch game.
I think Rockhold will dominate him in the clinch game.
And
dominate him in the clinch game.
And this is 5 versus 8, right?
Yes.
Luke's 5 and Bisping's number 8.
Yes.
Yeah.
Luke Rockhold's an amazing fighter. He's younger, he's fresher.
Yep.
And like you said, he's a lot more well-rounded. And I would pick Luke Rockhold to win this fight too. I don't want to underestimate.
That's because you love Bisping.
What's the odds on him?
You do. Just admit it.
I just picked Rockhold to win the goddamn fight.
But you love Bisping.
You're sitting here.
You've always loved
You're
him.
acting like Bisping doesn't have a good clinch game.
I'd say he has a good clinch game. I don't think his clinch game is as good as Luke Rockhold.
Why do you think Luke Rockhold has such a good clinch game, though?
From seeing his fight with Tim Boetsch and seeing his fight with Costas Philippou. Maybe
they just have really shitty clinch games.
Yeah.
I don't know. Costas Philippou has a decent clinch game, and so does. You can't say that Tim Boetsch didn't.
Yeah.
Tim Boetsch took, Yushin Okami and knocked him unconscious with uppercuts from the clinch.
Because we've seen a definite progression with both those fighters, and then when they came up against Rockhold, there you go.
They didn't look that
The
great.
biggest problem here is that Bisping doesn't finish fights.
No.
And Rockhold
Does.
He's got a huge possibility of finishing every fight he goes into. So, you never pick Bisping to finish a fight.
No.
Ever.
And a side note, whoever they put with Bisping to control his mouth and his whole attitude, it totally worked. I mean, he's so controlled. I mean, he's still kind of running his mouth, but it's not like it used to be.
I think he should still be like he used to be. You can't understand half the shit that comes out of his mouth anyway.
Subtitles for the Diaz brothers, but not the British fighters. And then we move over to our Brazilian card, which is going to be going down on Fox Sports 1, on Fox Sports 2, and Fight Pass. First fight on Fight Pass, Wagner Silva Gomes going up against Colby Covington. I'm just going to be taking Colby Covington.
Okay.
Yeah, got it good. Thomas Alameda going up against Tim Gorman. Leandro Silva against Charlie Brenneman. Diego Lima against Jorge Antonio Cesaro de Oliveira. That is one person. Cal Magalhães going up against Trevor Smith. And Diego Rivas going up against Rodolfo Rubio Perez. Both those guys coming off tough Latin America. This is going to be a fight from 2 cast members before their finale. So obviously they didn't make it.
Yeah, no shit, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's hilarious.
I wonder if Buffer's going to say all 4 of his names.
Right.
Jorge Antonio Cesario de Oliveira.
And does he have a
Lima.
does he have a nickname in between all of that?
Cram in there. And then, of course, those are all going to be going on. Again, the first one is on Fight Pass. The last 5 are going to be on Fox Sports 2 if you get that channel because you're one of the lucky bastards that has DirecTV.
I wouldn't call that lucky, but...
Be able to watch the fights, it's lucky.
Yeah.
And then we have our first fight going up on the main card, Fox Sports 1. I'm pretty happy we get to see our first strawweight fight make it to the main card, not just on Fight Pass or just on the prelims. You got Juliana de Lima Canario going up against Nina Anasarov. Juliana Canario was the girl who was supposed to be on The Ultimate Fighter, but they said she didn't speak good enough English. She did have her first fight in the UFC. She lost.
But they let both the Diaz brothers on there and Bisping.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't understand that she didn't want to do subtitles this year, I guess. Anyway, she did have her first fight in the UFC. She did lose the decision. She was showing some pretty impressive Muay Thai, though, in that decision loss. She just seemed to kind of peter out and didn't... I think she looked like she thought she had the fight won, and it just didn't end up working out for her.
Wait, when they think they have it won and they walk away and give the other person the fight?
Yeah. She does shoot far from the outside. Doesn't set up her takedowns very well, but she is definitely a good grinder. Nina, however, is riding a 5-fight win streak. 4 of those by knockout. The last one by submission. So the last 5 fights that she's on her win streak. Now she's only 6-3. And 5 again. All of them are by finishes. She throws good combos and good kicks. Does have a tendency to get trapped against the fence. If she can keep the distance, I will be taking Nina in this fight.
I like your breakdown. It makes sense to me.
All right. Claudio Henrique da Silva is 10-1, 1-0 in the UFC, going up against Leon Edwards, who's 8-1, making his UFC debut. I think this is one of the few times we'll be taking one of the guys in the debut. Silva, all-around submission artist. That's pretty much all he has.
Is this because his name is Leon?
His takedowns are weak. He only uses them as an opportunity to get somebody to the ground so he can get his submission games on, and he's relentless at trying them. He's got a heavy top base, but however, that's all he's got. He has really, really bad striking.
So he's gotten to 10-1, 1-0 in the UFC by being a one-trick pony?
Yeah.
His submission game is that legit, though?
It's pretty legit, and he's been doing well in the regional circuits.
Okay. Which
That's where I'm giving
makes
him.
a big difference.
Yeah, it's weird because there's this woman. She's undefeated, and like 7 of her wins are just one trick.
Yeah.
Mm.
Leon Edwards, though, is the former Bama champion. Again, another guy who's kind of in the regional level. He did ever make it as a champion. He is a good kickboxer with decent power. In the scramble and the fights that I was able to find on YouTube, he did really, really well. His defensive wrestling isn't the best, but again, the regional kind of markets, he's been able to do a pretty good job at it. I think I'll be taking Leon Edwards in this fight as long as he can keep it standing, which he should be able to do. I don't see Silva's, even though he's a submission artist, I definitely don't see his takedowns being able to get Leon down.
Which is obviously what his number one goal is.
His number one goal is definitely going to be.
He's probably going to eat a lot of shots going for those takedowns.
Yes.
All right.
Warley Alves going up against Alan Joban. Warley is 7-0 and coming off of the Ultimate Fighter Brazil 3. He is the winner of that event. And then you have Alan Joban, who's 10-2. Alan is a former RFA champion / part-time model. Yeah, that was in his bio. He is good at Muay Thai. His wrestling's just all right. He does keep good cardio.
Why
and a
would
good
you
pace.
do this if you're a part-time model? Are you a toe model? Fuck do you model if you go into a sport where you get punched in the face?
Does have a good straight left.
He's a back model.
Yeah. I do, however, think that Warley has got this fight. He's been training in Jacare's camp. He is really, really aggressive, really, really good in the clinch, really good on the ground. He is dropping from middleweight to this fight, so as long as the weight cut goes fine, which earlier I saw the weight, he was on weight, he's definitely going to be taking this fight pretty easily.
I just like his name.
Warley?
If I was ever to have another kid, that's what they're getting named.
Warley?
Warley.
All right.
Warley! You can say it drunk or sober. It's not the same.
Where are you, Warley?
Warley! Give me a beer.
What would Warley do?
Ian McCall, 13.
Now I have to get a dog just to name it Warley.
There you go. 13-4-1, going up against John Linkler, who's 24-7.
Warley and me.
Uncle Creepy is known for his wrestling. He's got decent KO power. He, however, does seem to get a little reckless at times and seems to abandon his game plan. We know he's got good body lock, good trips, good knees in the clinch.
Good mustache.
Good mustache. He just, like I said, when he abandons his game plan, he ends up losing his decision fights. I mean, he just doesn't stick to what he needs to do. And Linkler's got heavy hands. This guy's old school fighter, even though he's only 5-2 in the UFC. Again, 24-7 overall. He is a sprawling brawler, hands down. He likes to push guys against the fence. Throws lots of combos. I think he's going to frustrate McCall enough to get him into that brawl and away from his game plan and be able to take this fight. I'm going to be taking Linkler in his fight.
I think I'm taking McCall in this fight, and
Yeah.
I also think that if McCall doesn't lose this fight, he might be getting, or doesn't win this fight, he might be getting walking papers.
It's possible. And of course, according to McCall, nobody might even watch this fight because they're flyweights.
and it's all what's his name's fault?
Yeah, it's all Demetrius Johnson's fault.
Demetrius Johnson's fault.
Why are we cutting Ian McCall? He lost. He fought? When did this happen?
Your main events, which are taking the place of your main and co-main, because the co-main was supposed to be OSP over in St. Peru up against Rafael Cavalcante. Your main event was originally going to be Mauricio Shogun Hua against Jimmy Manuwa. However, Manuwa and Cavalcante are both out on injury. They were able to combine the bout. So now we have Shogun against OSP, 22-9, who's 6-7 in the UFC, basically kept around because he's a legend.
Right.
And he still does all right when he needs to.
And he's still young enough to continue to fight. Yeah.
16-6, 4-1 in the UFC is over in St. Peru. Over in St. Peru is one of these guys I thought that was coming over from Strikeforce and going to do really, really well. He was one of the names that was building himself in Strikeforce. Mm-hmm. He was taking out guys left and right. He's very explosive and athletic, as the UFC likes to say. Former football player and wrestler. However,
he's doing fine in the UFC at 4-1.
But I'm not seeing the potential I thought he had in Strikeforce. Maybe it's because the competition's a little stiffer.
I think the problem we're going to have here is going to be the exact opposite of what we're going to have in the previous fight with Ian McCall. I think that Shogun is going to really frustrate OSP here.
OSP flat out said, "I will not get in a slugfest with Shogun."
You might not have a choice.
He says he won't. So I'm expecting him to use his wrestling and try to drag us to the ground and lay him prey.
Yeah,
and so is Shogun. Shogun says,
shoots wrong, he's going to eat some knees.
Yeah, that's exactly what
Shogun's
I was
got deadly knees.
Yeah.
Even though his knees don't really work out for him walking around lately anymore, he does definitely have a lot of knee surgeries he's been going through. If he hits somebody with them, they hurt.
Yeah, if he knocks out OSP with a knee, then he's going to be out for 6 months.
Yeah, it's true. Shogun does not have the knees nor the lungs that he used to.
No.
But he's still very dangerous. We've seen it over and over. His clinch is probably one of the best clinches in the division. Has to be. knees are heavy. This ground and pound is heavy.
Almost better than Bisping's.
His kicks are really heavy. Good overhand rights. He's a good counter puncher. However, he's very hittable, and it's beginning to take its toll on him. I really do think that. And it's been for a while. OSP's got a good double leg, but again, like we were saying, if he starts eating knees and punches from Shogun going for that double leg, it could be in for a long night. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be taking Shogun Rua to win this fight in Brazil, hometown.
Now, if OSP does win this fight, it opens up a whole new door of possibilities for him in the division.
Yes, and even if Shogun doesn't, it really doesn't. I don't see Shogun's not going for a title. Anytime soon.
Shogun's just fighting.
Yeah, he's just fighting to fight.
Yeah, because it does nothing for him.
No,
it's a paycheck.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Now
gotta feed the kids, man.
Against Manoa, I think it was had a little more oomph behind it. Manoa was still ranked in the top 10, still kind of a perennial contender at some point. He was one of these young new guys, you know what I mean, going up against Shogun, who's kind of the old lion.
I get Manoa and Manoa confused.
But yeah, I'll be taking Shogun in this fight.
No, I'm with you on that one. I was actually texting somebody about this today, this morning, and I had Ian and Shogun, and also who was the other fight today?
Bisbee?
Rockhold.
You got Rockhold.
Yeah, that was a discussion this morning.
Nice.
So there you go. There you have it. Those fights are going on today and tomorrow, kids. Sign up for Fight Pass, get your free trial.
Yeah.
That's a good way to see
3 months,
it.
right?
3 months free trial.
Is it 3 months? I thought it was 3 weeks.
I think it's 3 months.
3 weeks would be kind of stupid, though, actually.
Yeah. 3 weeks, cool. You guys didn't schedule a fight, dicks. I watched the Ken Shamrock thing. It sucked.
So you can get your Fight Pass free, free trial, and you
they
can
didn't have us fight
fights.
on with the woman at the mall that I wanted to see.
It's all security cam footage anyway.
Still would have been interesting.
It's like watching the movie Clerks.
I watch it.
So yeah, thanks for listening. Make sure you check out the fights tonight and tomorrow night. Tonight is again on Fight Pass. Tomorrow night is on Fox Sports 1.
Yes.
2 and
Fight Pass.
Awesome. so yeah, and tell your friends about us, please. Spread the word about Split Decision. Get us on our website, splitdecisionmma.com. Also on Facebook, Split Decision MMA Podcast. Throw us a like. Spreaker, Stitcher, and SoundCloud are places you can download us. And you can also get us on iTunes. If you subscribe, you won't miss anything. We send out updates on our Instagram and Twitter, especially if stuff happens after the show, SD_MMA. And again, if you're a fighter looking for sponsors, make sure you check out MMAsomnia.com. They help fighters get sponsors. That is their mission in life. And if you want some new fight apparel, AmericanaMMA.org can get you fitted. And that's pretty much it from the Ruloff Family Inc. Studios. It is Bueller and Dodge saying have a good night. We'll see you at the fights.